the Ande Caldwell Radio Show. Ande is a government watchdog, business and traditional values advocate, and on this show, he interviews leaders and scholars on a variety of local, state, and national issues.
Hey, happy Memorial Day Friday. We are here at the Ande Caldwell Studios. My name is Olivia Gonzales.
And I'm Richard Quandt, and we are in studio here at KUHL in Santa Maria, and we have two special guests here today. And I'd like to introduce our guests. We actually have a farmer here in studio to talk about real farming and how that takes place in Santa Maria. And we have a very well-known member of the agriculture community, and that would be Judy Lundberg from Babe Farms, the owner and founder of Babe Farms. And she also has the distinction of being the Santa Barbara County Farmer of the Year for 2010. For those of you that look at and read on a regular basis the Santa Maria Sun, her picture graces the cover of that newspaper, and Judy is here in the studio with us here today. And then with her is Ande Manos, and she is in charge of sales and marketing over at Babe Farms. And they are, I'd like to welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
I've known Judy for a long time, and she has built quite a well-known company in Babe Farms. They have a unique product, and I know they market it in a unique way. And I'd just like to say I think the honors that you have received and the accolades in the last year are very well deserved, and it is an honor to have you in the studio with us, Judy.
Thank you very much. I definitely did not do it alone. I had a lot of help.
Well, tell us about your family and the help that they've given you.
Well, my son works for me now. Originally, the company was started by my husband and two other partners in 1986.
And that would be Frank Lundberg?
That would be Frank Lundberg and Greg Pettigo and Will Souza. And we had worked for Will on a conventional farm for many years, and since 1981. And he was, I always called him a hyperactive 70-year-old because he was never happy with just conventional things. He did a lot of traveling. He saw a lot of specialty products in Europe and decided that he wanted to come back here and start another company, and it gave us the opportunity to kind of, on a ground floor, start something. We started on a small basis, and it just seemed to go crazy, and we've been very fortunate with our...
I know Will was well known as being primarily a broccoli grower, and then, tell us about Babe Farms and the whole diversification to other crops, and how did that come about?
Well, he did this traveling in Europe and saw a lot of the European markets with specialty vegetables, baby lettuces, and this kind of thing. And he came back here and said, I think we could fill a niche here. Let's start something. So we started with baby carrots, and as we opened up the market and started selling a little bit more, everywhere you went, they'd say, what do you have new? What do you have new? So we kept adding products. And it was very fun because we weren't really competing against the broccoli farmers and the lettuce farmers, and we were unique, very unique at that time. In the beginning, we were one of the first that had the specialty lettuces. And then it just went from there, and we've been very fortunate. We celebrated our 25th year in business this year, and my husband passed away about 6 years ago, and my son stepped up to the plate and is manage it. I have a staff of between 120 and 140 people, and a lot of them have been there for the full 25 years, much of them 15 years. So we're all family, and everybody treats the business as if it was theirs, and that's what makes my company grow.
And Ande, how long have you been with Babe
I've
Farm?
been with Babe for 17 years now. I'm a Cal Poly grad and wanted to stay in the area, and Babe Farms looked like a really interesting opportunity for me, being a ag business major. So anyway, I've been there. I'm part of the family. I'm one of the fixtures there in the office, and I've enjoyed it. It's a really interesting and unique operation, and I have to say that Will Souza was just such a visionary, when he started this. Back in the 80s, iceberg, our conventional iceberg, cauliflower, broccoli, celery, you know, those are all your basic items. But this guy brings on the European salad mix, you know, all the specialty lettuces like Lola Rosa and Red Oak. And it was just unheard of here. It was like in your farmers markets or people's backyards. But this guy brought it to a whole new level, along with Judy, her husband, and the Pedigos. And so they've come a long way in 25 years, and it's a great operation to work for.
And I just have to say, Jeff Lundberg, Judy's son, is one of our board members over at Grower Shipper.
Yes, he is.
And Jeff is one of my favorite people because when I first started working for the association, I remember taking a farm tour over at Babe. And Babe has the prettiest fields. And I don't want any of the other board members getting huffy about that, but they have the most colorful fields, and you go out there, and it's just really such a neat experience. They have purple carrots and orange carrots, and they have crazy vegetables that look like little purple aliens, and it's really quite an experience, and I think that's just so neat to have that niche in Santa Maria.
Yeah, it's a huge sell point for us. I mean, we have, like we say, we have a kaleidoscope of, you know, products, and it's really fun to take chefs out in the fields and, you know, see all the different varieties that we're growing every day. 365 days a year. Babe Farms is going solid year-round. We don't move out of the area. We keep our operation here. And so it's quite interesting for them to see that wide array of products available. So,
now, I have to tell the audience, I had my first Babe Farms CSA box last week, and I spent about half an hour just cutting everything up and putting it in the refrigerator. Made me really fully appreciate everything you guys do over there. But maybe you can explain to the listeners what your CSA program is, what that stands for, and why you started doing that program.
The CSA program stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And the reason we started it was a lot of the people in the area, we export a lot of stuff. It goes to LA markets, San Francisco markets. We go as far as Florida, Washington, D.C., New York City, Las Vegas. But a lot of them didn't have a retail market they could buy our specialty produce in. And they'd say, where can I buy it? They'd see us at the fair. They'd see us at the vintners. And so Ronnie Labastida and Denise, Ronnie came to work for us about 2 years ago. And he had a CSA program in operation and said, do you want to continue it? And it was really a perfect fit because we had a ton of different products. We always have, we always plant more than we think we're going to sell. So we had it available for sale, and we thought, what's it going to take to put it in a box and give the local people an option? So they sign up for a subscription like a wine club, only it's a vegetable club, and you can get a box every week or every other week. You get 8 to 10 items in your box, plus a fruit, and it really allows the community to participate and have the access.
How's the produce delivered?
It's either, you can call, it can be delivered to your door if you want. There's a small delivery fee. We have several stops in the area that we deliver to, Rabobank in Orchid, and several other, Discovery Museum, and some of the schools have signed up, and we deliver direct to the schools. Or you can pick up at our cooler or at our office. Mm-hmm. So we have a wide number of ways that they can get their product.
You know, and I have to say, it's given me a whole nother appreciation for how many different commodities are actually grown. Because, like I said, the purple alien I was talking about is actually kohlrabi, is what I found out.
Space cabbage.
And as I'm cutting this thing up, I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, what am I doing with this? So it makes you have to go and look it up and figure out how to use these products. And especially, I would imagine, if you have a family, it's probably a lot of fun to get your box and kind of sit there and go, all right, well, what are we going to do with this thing? You know?
Yeah, involve the kids and incorporate them into the cooking. And it is a little bit of a job when you first get it, but that's how you make best use of it. And if all else fails, you can bake roast just about anything. So put it in
barbecue it.
Yeah, or
if
barbecue.
You're in Santa Maria, you got to barbecue.
Yeah, you got to barbecue it. But it's easy to use. In the wintertime, stews, soups. I mean, a bunch of it goes in there, and it's just a great way to use a lot of products and eat healthy.
The vegetables are also decorative as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Definitely. We've used them in a lot of floral arrangements. Edible bouquets. So that's been a really cool thing as well. So
actually, if anybody's going to be at the governor's breakfast, I think it's this weekend or so, we sent them about 150 pieces, and they will be displaying our product.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with Babe Farms.
News, views, and interviews. This is the Andy Caldwell Show.
Good afternoon. This is Richard Quandt, and I'm here with Olivia Gonzales. We're here from the Grower Shipper Association. We have two guests in studio. That would be Judy Lundberg and Ande Manos from Babe Farms, and we're continuing our discussion about Babe Farms and what they do. I wanted to let everyone know that we just recently refurbished our boardroom out in Guadalupe, and Olivia brought in a couple of very, very nice pictures, portraits, and they are of Babe Farms vegetables. They grace the Grower Shipper boardroom as we've tried to remodel the room and make it look nicer. We thought that one of the most attractive products in Santa Maria are the baby vegetables that are grown in Babe Farms, and so those pictures do grace our boardroom now.
Thank you.
And you can also get, we were just talking about, you can also get those very attractive vegetables in Babe Farms CSA Community Supported Agriculture boxes, which is basically like a wine club, as Judy said, except it's a vegetable club, so it can come straight to you, and it really does not get any fresher. That's really Babe's whole shtick, is everything that comes out of Babe Farms is extremely fresh. And basically pack that day that it's ordered, right?
Pack that day. That's one of our unique things, is we don't inventory items. We harvest that morning for delivery or pickup that night. And so it can't get any fresher, really. And we have a website that they can get online and sign up online. We have a PayPal program. They can call Ramona at the office. Our website is www.farmersgarden.org. or babefarms.com. Either one clicks on, and we'd be glad to give you any information you'd like.
Yeah, and they also have a Facebook page, and more people need to get on there and like that Farmers Garden program, because it's really neat and just adds so much to the ag community in Santa Maria, I think. So, we were saying earlier, Judy is the 2010 Santa Barbara County Farmer of the Year. And quite a bit of to-do has been made about the fact that you are a woman in what people consider to be a man's industry. So I wondered if you could just comment on that. And, how do you feel about that? And what's been your experience in the industry? And do you think that that's necessarily the whole story?
It really isn't. It hasn't been any other way to me. I was raised, my dad was a native of the Santa Maria Valley. He was a farmer. We moved to Lompoc. We moved back. So I've been raised on a farm. We worked on a farm as a kid. My mother, we all worked outside, so it was just kind of a normal thing. I did the books when I first went to work for Will, and obviously I don't get in the field as much as I'd like to. I really would rather be out there some days. But it was just a normal thing, and I didn't find a lot of problems in the industry. Obviously, locally, everybody knows me. Richard and I go a long ways to the Cesar Chavez days and the unionization, and I was always there, and it was just part of what we did. So it was a natural thing, and I don't think it's any more special than if I was a man in the industry.
Yeah, what's your take on that, Ande? Because you're also in that boat.
Yeah, a different perspective at the sales desk. It's definitely a male industry. And when I started at Babe Farms, there was some women, pretty powerful women in the industry, but a lot of men. And it was different on the phones. It can be kind of aggressive at times as far as, talking prices and availability. But through the years, wow, big change. There is a lot more women on the phone lines in sales offices, purchasing. It's a big change, and they're very aggressive, very professional, and they do a great job. And so, it's a little different.
There was that. I did see that when I went out of town into conventions and that kind of thing. They assumed I was the wife doing the wife tour instead of being involved in the organization, and it was mostly men in the industry. But little by, now you don't see that as much. Yes, there has been an increase in women in agriculture, I think, in farms, and I think the statistics were quoted in that Sun article. But, it's been a normal path for me because that's all I've ever known.
Yeah, and I think definitely coming from the standpoint of somebody involved in the advocacy side too, there are a lot of women in advocacy for
Yes.
agriculture, and I would almost say maybe even more than men in
I think
some
so.
instances. Yeah, so there's definitely a place in the industry, and I think a lot of people take issue with, well, there aren't a lot of women in ag, and I think they're thinking about people on tractors out in the fields, and
Exactly.
and it's like, well, a lot of women don't really want to go sit on a tractor all day long. Maybe that's not necessarily where they want to spend their time. And so I think maybe there's a little more emphasis put on that than is really the reality, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It was fun when I was a kid, riding the tractor, and my dad had a bean harvester. We took dinner to the harvester and all those kinds of things. And I could have a contest and just about outback a trailer with anybody, with most men in this town.
That's a serious talent,
yeah, that's
by
a
the
serious
way.
talent. But,
It really is.
But, it was a normal thing for us all to learn. I'd rather have been, when I was a kid, I'd rather be on the ranch with my dad than in the house with my mom because I didn't want to be cleaning house and that kind of thing. We wanted to be outside.
Yeah. No, and I think, if I'm not correct, I think one of the forefront people in California that in the organic industry, I'm not recalling the name of the company right now, but up in Monterey County, there's a woman there that's really been instrumental in getting a foothold in the organic market. And I wish I could remember the name of that label.
It's Frida Kaplan. Yeah.
Oh, Frida Kaplan, yeah, she's a pioneer as well. I mean, she was one of the really first prominent women in agriculture. She brought in a lot of the specialty items. She started Frida's, basically a specialty company down in the Los Angeles area. And
Earthbound was what I was looking for.
okay.
Earthbound Farms.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, Earthbound Farms, definitely a great company that's come a long way with organics, offering a wide variety there. So,
Yeah. No,
I get personal little notes from Frida every once in a while. You go, girl, whenever she sees me on something.
That's perfect. And so along this line, as farmers and people that are involved in ag, what are some of the most common misconceptions that you've run into being a part of this industry? What are some of the things that have come up?
From the managing end of it, I think people tend to think that we aren't caretakers of the land, and we certainly do our best to do that because that's where we earn our livelihood, and we wouldn't do anything to tear it down that wouldn't allow us to continue to produce. And the other thing is labor. I mean, I have 140 people that work for me, and a lot of them, like I said, have worked for a long time. They've had families, they've bought houses, they've become citizens, they've graduated from colleges. We have a graduate this in a couple of weeks from San Jose State, and it makes us proud to see our people, our employees, families going in, and we commit, and we feel like we do a huge contribution to the economy of Santa Maria and the area.
Well, one of our guests earlier, Katie Pinke, we were talking about that whole family-owned concept and how 98% of the farms in the country are family-owned. And I think a lot of people think we're just throwing that out there. But when we get back in just a second, we'll talk about that a little more and how that really is truly how it is.
Very good.
Making you smarter one day at a time. This is the Ande Caldwell Show.
Yes, we're back here in studio at KUHL. I'm Richard Quandt.
And I'm Olivia Gonzales, and we're here with Ande and Judy from Babe Farms here in Santa Maria. And we were just talking about how 98% of the agricultural operations in America are family-owned. And a lot of people may say, oh, that's just marketing, or that's just kind of the spin. But Judy, you were just talking about how you really do have a family-oriented company, and you care a lot about your workers.
Yes, most of them have been with me, like I said, for a long time. And, we have a really good relationship. They've worked with me, and our company is their company. I mean, they may not own it, but they certainly take charge, and they really take ownership of the responsibilities of working for the company.
Well, and it seems like growing produce for families and for, because this food is feeding people in your communities. So I would think that there's quite a bit of responsibility, like you say there, and you feel the need to do a good job.
Yeah, you can't not do a good job in California anymore because there's a lot of people out there that are watching over us. We belong to the California Leafy Greens. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've jumped every hurdle and gone through every special program to have our product checked out, and I mean, we just do it all in order to make it safe, and that's the priority because you can't afford not to have a safe product go on the market anymore.
Absolutely.
Tell me, in terms of your workers, Judy, if you didn't have those workers working what impact would that have on Babe Farms?
If we didn't have, we would be out of business. We would be out of business. I mean, we follow the law, and we document everybody that comes in. We do what we're supposed to do. If the immigration cracks down and we have a lack of labor, then our product goes away. It's not a matter of being able to hold something for a week or two. Our product, because we harvest it as baby, I mean, it comes and goes in 3 days. Mm-hmm. If we can't harvest it and have it in the field, we would be out of business. We would be out of business. Yeah,
I think people don't understand how dependent our society has become on farm workers and people that work in agriculture to harvest the crops that we all enjoy and consume.
Exactly, and we follow all the protocol. We make sure they have rest times, they have break times, they have heat stress areas that they can be out of the sun. We certainly don't want to take advantage of them because, like I said, they're very needed by us, and we feel like we're needed by them.
Well, I think, Richard, you also have a lot of experience, culturally with people that are coming out of Mexico. You spent quite a bit of time down there, and I've heard you talk about before how these workers are treated pretty fairly in terms of when they come up here and how they're looking for opportunity.
Yes, they are, and they the opportunities that agriculture in California affords many of the people that do immigrate from other countries, and those are the majority of the people that are working in agriculture, are immigrants from other countries, and they come up here looking for work, and they benefit by the being able to work in agriculture, and I think we all benefit by that. And that's a system that has worked. Some of the problems with that system is we need to make sure that system, people are operated, within the boundaries of the law. And there needs to be some, I think, changes to some of the laws to make sure that happens. But it's a system that benefits both the farm workers. It benefits farms here in California. It benefits people that care about having a local source of their food, that care about maintaining open space, having a rural heritage in this county, in this area, and it benefits everybody that eats produce. So
well, and it seems like one of the things we talked about last week was the possibility of mechanization. Being a replacement for that labor. And I wonder, with the kind of specialty crops that you do, is that even really an option for what you're doing?
For most of our roots, no. Any of our radishes, beets, all that has to be harvested by hand. We do have a mechanized lettuce harvester, mm-hmm. and we switched to that about a year and a half ago. It saves us a lot of money. And it was really something that we were forced into because the price got to such a price point that we couldn't afford the labor to do it by hand. And it's working quite well for us. But we've managed to segregate, we didn't lay anybody off because of it. We moved them into other areas, and they still continued to work.
But now, along with that mechanized lettuce harvesting, you're not getting the same pristine hand-cut heads of lettuce necessarily, are you? Or is that more for bagged product?
That's for the bagged product,
right,
yeah. It's
right.
Baby head. It's like a mowing machine that goes mm-hmm. down your lawn, and it goes onto a belt and goes up into a conveyor.
I don't think people realize how much the landscape of our supermarkets are going to change.
Oh, yes.
If that becomes the trend, you're not going to see these really pristine pieces of produce.
Exactly, because somebody that's harvesting will choose one head over another because they're visually looking at it and saying a machine is going to come along and take, anything, and it definitely downgrades the quality of the product.
Now, another thing that's unique about Babe Farms is that you grow conventionally and organically, and you do a CSA program. You do a lot of different things, and I think that's interesting because it seems like you see the value in all of those. Otherwise, obviously, you wouldn't be doing them. So maybe you can talk about, why you do all of those programs and what makes each of them unique.
We started kind of traditionally changing to organic farming because we had product in Costco, and they were leaning towards an organic product. And it was a small part of our program. We have about 100 acres of organic land. It takes 3 years to transition that land to organic. And most of the products that we grow, we wouldn't be able to get the proper production to make it profitable if we farmed it on an organic basis. However, most of our products are baby. Consequently, they aren't in the ground. We don't apply a lot of materials to them, and they really are in and out of the ground.
And
quickly.
if I might interject a little bit, in what our product line mainly goes out to your fine dining crowd. We're shooting to all points across the U.S. and Canada, into these, 4 or 5 star establishments, and these chefs want perfect product. They don't want any tears or holes in their leaves. They don't want any scarring. So you got to produce a perfect product there, and conventional kind of allows for that, whereas organic, we run into a little bit more limitations, and we'll be throwing away a lot more product because our end user, doesn't want that. They want diamonds. So it's hard. It makes it very difficult for us. So.
Well, so to explain that further, when you're talking about organic production, it sounds like some of the products you're allowed to use and what you are able to do is pretty limited in terms of, when you say tears and holes, I think you're talking about pest issues and
yeah, exactly.
things that go along with that.
Any kind of like scarring on the root vegetable or on the tops. And so, where organic farming, you might run into a little bit more of, pest damage. So.
Okay. So why is it that you decided to go ahead and do all 3? Because it sounds like that's probably a lot of paperwork for you guys to go ahead and do all of that. So
definitely. We aren't just farmers anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have a full-time safety man, that handles checking the fields. We have to have our fields tested. We have holds when we ship something to some of our people. We have a 24-hour test and hold program we have to do. There's a lot involved, but the public requires it because they want to be safe, and we want them to feel comfortable with our product, so we do everything they ask us. And we go above and beyond. We were USDA approved. We were one of the first to become USDA approved in the area several years ago, many years ago when we first started growing, and it's paid off. It's something, it's part of business anymore. It's just part of business.
Now, are you a little worried about the amount of regulation that is... it seems to just never stop. It seems to always constantly be going. And if you look at, I think not too long ago, they released the farm dollar value, where you can look at, what percentage of that dollar is actually going back to the farm versus what's going to marketing, what's going to regulation, and all of these different bites that are taken out of it. And by the time you're done, you guys really aren't getting nearly what people think you are.
Oh, no. Our margins are probably not what the retailers are making, and our investment is huge.
Yeah.
And we have millions and millions of dollars in, land, in equipment in order to produce that. And there's no guarantee when the product comes out that it's going to sell. So we have it all on the line. But it's still, it makes you feel good because you work for yourself, and that's what we live for. But, it's definitely a good business to be in, a good family-oriented business. My grandkids are getting excited about coming and helping, and with our CSA program, my grandson's getting out of school, so he'll be helping make the deliveries with my sister, and those things are just fun. It's good to get them involved.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So like we talked about, definitely family business.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely family oriented. And I know just being a visitor, even then, I never worry about walking into Babe and saying hi to everybody, and everybody's friendly and happy. And I think it's a very happy industry overall for the most part. when they're not griping.
Yeah, I was on vacation a month or so ago, and I called in. I said, "How's everything going?" And one of my guys said, "Well, if I could get them off the desks, they might get back to work, and then we might be able to take some orders then." And we laughed, and then it went on. But we do. We have a real relaxed atmosphere in the office. There are certain things that we can't budge on, and we can't have people walking dogs in our fields anymore. And people say, why is that? Well, because the public required that, we have tracks in our field, and then we have to section off an area of the field and can't harvest.
Quarantine
areas. So,
and,
regulations are getting out of hand, but sometimes there are things that are necessary.
All right. Well, we'll be back in just a minute here, and stay tuned.
Online worldwide, but heard right here. This is the Ande Caldwell Show.
Hello and welcome back to the Ande Caldwell Show. My name is Olivia Gonzales.
And I'm Richard Quandt. We're here from the Grower Shipper Association, and we're speaking with Judy Lundberg and Ande Manos from Babe Farms. And I actually have a question for Ande. She is the sales and marketing director over there at Babe Farms. And I had a question in terms of, we've talked about marketing through the CSA program, marketing locally. I assume that Babe Farms markets on a much broader basis than just locally. Could you talk a little bit about your markets and how you get your product to some of these markets?
Well, definitely. Like I was saying, we have a really broad reach across the country and up into Canada. And I think when Babe Farms first started, our main markets were Los Angeles. And of course, we're in a great location here, just being about 160 miles north of Los Angeles. We can get down into that, huge metropolitan area. And so that's kind of the origins where we first started. And from that point, we kind of launched from there. And there was a lot of specialty companies down there that started shipping Babe Farms products all over the country to all of these fine dining restaurants in Las Vegas, New York, you name it. So anyway, with our label, the Babe Farms label, it became very widely recognized, and then we just kind of went on from there. We do a lot of sales trips, a lot of trade shows. We are members of the PMA, the Produce Marketing Association. So we attend their annual show, which, really reaches out to a huge crowd. Some of the local shows. So those are ways that we market. I personally go visit a lot of our customers. I think a great way of getting out to, getting your product out is doing ride-alongs with a lot of the companies, with the sales reps, get out on the streets and, just start carrying boxes of produce around. Just like the CSA program, we carry this, beautiful box of produce. We might be walking down the street in New York City and go into the back side of this restaurant and, show the chefs our product. And that's really how we get out to them. Of course, we have our website, and, we have a full sales force there that really hammers the phones every day to, talk to people, talk to buyers all over the country. So
let me ask Judy, how did you come up with the Babe Farms and the logo, the little...
That really came from Wilbur Souza. His granddaughter was the original concept. It was made from a picture of hers. His daughter had drawn it. And he had gone to France, and it was really Babé, French, with a little tam, and that's how it started. And then we just kind of went on from there. We answered the phones, Babé Farms, for a long time, but everybody just started saying Babe, and it kind of cut back to the chase on that. So that's really where the logo came from. Alana, who was the original Babe Farms picture, she is now a graduate, has graduated, and we had an anniversary edition celebrated, and she's done wonderful things. I mean, this child, I can't even compare to the things she's gone overseas and worked in the Peace Corps, and she's back in she lives in Boston. That's where his daughter lived, and she's back in the market looking for a job and working in the industry that she's been she's just a unbelievable.
Yeah, we kind of did a fun thing for our 25th anniversary. We did the big reveal. You know, everybody wants to know who's the babe. So anyway, we announced to everybody the babe is the granddaughter of the founder, and so that was kind of fun for everybody. So
The Babe Farms babe.
It took a long time to get over that. You know, they'd say, "So you guys are the babes." You know, you're the babe, and of course, then we went through the movie when the babe was a pig, and that was not fun to work with.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of that.
the
But
name is a little bit challenging at times.
Yeah.
You know, they think, oh, do you do baby food or, you know.
yeah, it takes a while. But most people, I mean, you go into the high restaurant industry now, and people know our label, and it's comfortable. For a long time, we could go to eat somewhere where we didn't sell, and we'd see something on the plate and we'd say, that looks like ours. So we'd still go, could you go in the kitchen and let us know what the label is? And sure enough, it was ours. And we both, I mean, I had not done a lot of traveling or even around the United States when I first started working for Babe, and these industry trips have been great. We both went into Washington, D.C., and I was able to go to the White House, into the kitchen, and meet with the chef, and JFK Kennedy Center, and the Pentagon, and I mean, we've really had some just first-class trips and doors wide open to us.
Right. Yeah. This type of product line allows for that, that's probably why I'm still with Babe Farms, because we get to go to some pretty swank places. So.
Hey, and you love it.
Yeah.
And you love it.
And we love it, both of us.
Well, we know of one president that doesn't like broccoli.
Yes, but
apparently one does like your baby vegetables.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
And another thing that we're really, grateful for is kind of this gourmet revolution that's going on, right? I mean, we've got the Food Network, like the MTV of the 2000s, and it's really
so
okay. When we started, people were like, "What in the world are they farming there?" and were kind of scoffing at things. Well, here comes the revolution, and Food Network and Food and Wine Magazine and Top Chef and all these great programs, and boom, we're on the map, and so a lot of these people, consumers, want to get out there. They want to see what is this stuff. I'm going to try to cook it just like, somebody I've seen on the Food Network. So that's really helped us a little bit, for the retail sector.
Yeah,
So.
little did we know we're talking to the rock stars of the Santa Maria Valley right now. This is it. And I want to plug your CSA program again, because it is just so neat. But anybody that's interested in checking out some of the produce grown at Babe Farms, go online and go to babefarms.com and take a look at their CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, where you get a box delivered to you of a medley of what's seasonal, and it's grown right here in Santa Maria, and it literally cannot be any fresher. And then along with that, actually, the first time I met Jeff, Judy's son, was at Savor the Central Coast.
Oh, yes.
And that is also coming back to the Central Coast at the Santa Margarita Ranch in, is it September?
Yeah.
And you're doing that again this year, aren't you?
I haven't been contacted yet, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah, no, and the Babe Farms display was the definite highlight of the agriculture tent, because it's just this rainbow of colors and textures, and I think they used the majority of your produce for that huge. They had a big wagon display,
Yes.
and it's really worth seeing. So if you want to also go online and check out Savor the Central Coast, it's a wine and food gourmet event up in the Santa Margarita Ranch, basically celebrating the Central Coast and a lot of agriculture here. So that's definitely worth seeing too.
Yes, and a lot of the top chefs come in and they do demonstrations and all that kind of thing. It was fun. It was a fun weekend, even though it was very warm.
Yeah, Tyler Florence actually bought some of our walnut oil and used it in his restaurant. So I'm with you on the gourmet revolution.
Yes.
All about that.
Yes.
And I think this year it's Iron Chef Kat Cora. I
think she's local in Santa Barbara, right?
Is she really?
Yeah, I
didn't know that.
She's down in Santa Barbara. So.
Oh, maybe
that'll be fun.
Maybe she's listening.
Yeah,
maybe.
At your display at the Santa Barbara County Fair is beautiful as well.
Thank you.
In the egg building, it has so much color, and it's one of my favorites. Every year, we go through the Ag Hort building and look at agriculture, and your display is just very, very beautiful.
Yes, well, we really try to make packs designed to fit the needs of our customers. We do really colorful packs. So we'll do combination packs. We've got, root samplers that you're going to find carrots, beets, kohlrabi, things like that in. And so we try to make it colorful for our end users too. So,
I think one of the big unique things about us is that we do grow, pack, and ship. Yeah. So we say from field to fork. Mm-hmm. We are responsible for getting it. People call us. We know where the product came from because we planted it in our fields. We know where the seed came from. We know everything about the product. So there's no mystery about anything that happened to the product from when it came out of the ground until it went to the market and the end user is in it.
And I remember actually taking a tour of your packing facility when I was going around with Jeff, and it's really interesting. And like you say, there, with all the regulations that have come along, I mean, you walk into that building and you need to walk through a foot bath, you need to put on a lab coat, you need to put a hairnet on, you
exactly.
need to, don't touch anything.
No earrings, no rings, no wristwatches.
I don't think people realize the extent that agriculture goes to make sure that product is safe. I mean, you're not talking about a bunch of people that are just hiking out into a field and grabbing something out of the mud.
Exactly. Yeah. And even in the field, we're hairnets on the people that are working in the field harvesting now. And that's kind of, out there when you think if they're outside anyway, there's birds flying over or whatever, but the people have hairnets and their knives have to be cleaned and put in a certain way, and it's very strict.
Yeah, it's critical to have, food safety. We strive to keep a really pristine, very clean environment.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in today. It has been wonderful to have you here, and congratulations again on your title.
Thank you.
And please have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend to everybody listening.
Yes, you too. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Judy and Andy. Thank you, Olivia.